video here on another difference I've noticed between the Alberta Building Code versus the British Columbia Building Code. And this is regarding fire department connections. So I've got the 2019 Alberta Building Code and the 2024 British Columbia Code. Okay, so where I want to go, I'm going to start with the Alberta Building Code here, and I'm going to go to Provisions for Firefighting in section 3.2. So 325 gives all the requirements for firefighting purposes. Okay, so in this section there is a part about standpipe systems. Okay, so 3258 is regarding standpipe systems. And if you don't know what a standpipe system is, let me show a picture of one, but your building might need a standpipe system, so you just have to read through that, and it pretty much describes what buildings require a standpipe system. Okay, so this is typically what you'll see for standpipe systems. So usually they'll be found in an exit stair. So it's just a pipe system basically going through the exit stair core, and at each floor there's a hose connection for the fire department to attach to. Now I don't know exactly why it's like this. Again, I just use the code, I don't write it, but I believe what the reasoning of this is that the exits have a fire rating that protects the exits from the rest of the floor area for a certain amount of time. So it's kind of a safe area for a certain amount of time. And so probably what this is used for is if there's a fire on a certain floor of a building, the fire department could use the stairs, go up the stairs, and attach their hose to that element right there, and then go onto the floor and fight the fire. So it used to be years ago there was actually hoses. You can see one in the background there actually in this picture. There was a cabinet there that had a hose in it, and a tap to turn on the hose, and that was that's how they would fight the fire. And then I guess at some point it changed, and these have all been removed. This is an older building. This is a 70s building. So this standpipe system is actually fairly new. It was a retro fit to this building. They put there was no sprinkler system in it before, and they put a sprinkler system in it. And as part of that, they added these hose connections and got rid of the hose cabinets that were in the building. I believe some buildings do still require those hose cabinets. I think if you get into industrial buildings, you might still see them, but by and large, they're kind of not around much anymore. Anyways, that's the standpipe system right there in a building, or an example of one. This, I believe, is also connected to the sprinkler system as well, but anyways, that's what they kind of look like. And here's a different exit stair in a different building, and you can see that hose connection there. So this is in the exit stair of this building. So yeah, you usually find them in the corners of the exits. The only thing that one has to be careful of, and I came across this on a project, was if you have scissor stairs. So for anybody that's listening that knows what a scissor stair is, it's when the two exits are stacked on top of one another. So if you're in one exit, the ceiling above you is the bottom of the stair of the other exit. In those cases, you can't actually do this because one exit could be compromised to the other exit. As you can see, you could fire stop that and everything, but it's still a concern. And I could actually show where that is in the code too. Okay, so you might need a standpipe system. Now, your building might have to be sprinklered as well, so that you determine that through a different part of the building code 322 section, which I have a video on. So just search for that one. That's determine the safety requirements of the building based on occupancy. Okay, so there's the standpipe system, and if I just flip ahead here, there's the article about the hose connections. So we saw that in the stair, and then I talked about some buildings requiring an automatic sprinkler system. Okay, so I'm going to keep flipping forward here, and there's a section or an article here, 32515, fire department connections. Okay, that's what I want to talk about, and this is where I noticed the difference. So if we zoom in on this one here, sentence 1 just goes on to say, if you have a standpipe system, the fire department connection for that standpipe system shall be located a certain distance from a hydrant. Okay, and then the second sentence is, if you have an automatic sprinkler system, the fire department connection for that automatic sprinkler system needs to be within a certain distance from the hydrant. Okay, so what do these typically look like? It's something like this right here. So typically you see on the face of a building exterior wall, you'll see these two hose connections. Okay, so that's the fire department connection. It's often referred to as a Siamese connection. Here's an example of a freestanding one. So instead of mounting this to the exterior wall, it's just a freestanding pipe that goes down into the parkade in this case, which would then go to a pipe that then goes to the exit stairs and to the sprinkler system and so on and so forth. Here's a picture of one I took on a building, and I took that picture just because it was terribly done in that case. But anyways, there it is right there. Here's one on a building with the hoses actually connected to it. So this was a building under construction. I don't know if they were testing the system or what, but that's kind of what it looks like there. Here's another one, building under construction, but there it is right there. Obviously, in this case, it's ready to be used while the building's still under construction because they're trying to keep that clear if something should happen. And I snapped this photo because this one just caught my eye one day as to a mistake, in my opinion. I mean, I don't know, I don't have a hose and I've never tried to connect a hose to one of these, but it looks to me like that build out there is kind of in the way of actually getting a hose onto that. So I'm not sure how that happened, but I thought that was interesting. Okay, so those are what your fire department connections look like. So you need one for a standpipe system, and you need one for an automatic sprinkler system. Then sentence 3 gets into where that has to be located. Okay, so the fire department connection referred to in sentences 1 and 2 shall be located no closer than 3 meters and no farther than 15 meters from the principal entrance to the building. Okay, so regarding the principal entrance, if I go back to access routes, I think is where I want to go here. So a building which is more than 3 stories and building height of more than 600 meters squared and building area shall be provided with access routes for fire department vehicles to the building face having a principal entrance. Okay, so you know, basically your building is going to need a principal entry, and what that is just an entry that's the point where the fire department will go when there's an emergency. So, you know, you may have a very large building, like think about a mall or a power center building where there's a whole bunch of multiple tenants. They need to know which one is the principal entry because that's where they'll go first, because in that principal entry there will be like a fire annunciator panel that'll tell them information about what alarm's going off where in the building and that type of stuff. So anyways, this all relates to the principal entry. And so the principal entry would be probably the most obvious main entry to a building. I have had situations where the fire department has actually requested a room on the backside of a power center and said, make that the principal entry. And that'd be their first point of stop, I guess, when they got there. And the reason was, you know, this building had like a Best Buy and a Michael's and, you know, a whole bunch of big box stores. And I guess, how do you decide which one's the principal entry? So in that case, they just said, put it on the backside, and that's where we'll go to figure out what's going on. But usually I would say it's like the lobby of a building or whatever, the obvious main entry. Okay, so the reason I'm doing this video is just to show the difference between the Alberta Building Code and the BC Building Code. So anyways, back to this sentence 3. So just remember that wherever you decide your principal entry is going to be, that connection has to be no closer than 3 meters. So they don't want it too close to the doors, and they don't want it too far from the doors of that principal entry. Okay. And so I was on this project in BC, and I was in a meeting, and there was a conversation going on about where to put this fire department connection. And so, you know, we have a road here on this side, a road here on this side, and there's a parking lot over on this side right here. So the discussion was talking about putting the fire department connection, I can't remember exactly where it was, but somewhere back here, somewhere around here. And the fire truck would come in right here, and then the fire department connection would be right there. And then I had raised my hand or whatever and said, doesn't it have to be within 3 to 15 meters of the principal entry? So not closer than 3 meters and not farther than 50 meters from the principal entry. And in this case, this was the main floor of this was commercial, so it had a whole bunch of entries, but up above is residential. So there was a main entry kind of right here. So that'd be the obvious principal entry in this case. And the answer was no. No, we can put it wherever we want, pretty much was the answer. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I just let the meeting carry on and did a little bit of homework on that on myself afterwards. So I'm going to flip here from the Alberta Building Code to the BC Code. So take a look at what happens here with sentence 3 when I get to the BC version. Okay, so I'm going to go to 32515 in the BC Code. And here's the fire department connections article, and sentence 1 and 2 is exactly the same, but sentence 3 was deleted. So in Alberta, you've got to put that fire department connection not closer than 3 meters to the principal entry and not farther than 15 meters, but in BC, I guess you can put it wherever you want. Interestingly enough, on this project, it was initially put in this back area. And I think it was during the building permit process, either the plans examiner or the fire department or somebody anyways had requested it to be moved over in this area. So even though it's not in the BC Building Code, I guess from their standpoint, it made the most sense to have it close to the principal entry. And that was labeled the principal entry on the building permit drawings. Anyways, I just thought I would share that little interesting catch for those that are interested in such things.